What's up everyone, it's your boy Chuck once again, and today in this video we're gonna test if the ROG 5 can handle one of the most graphic heavy game out there, which is A3 Still Alive. At some point in this game you'll get from around 100 players to 400 players on the same frame, and that's nowhere near those other games that's being tested right now, like Genshin Impact and Call of Duty Warfare. Alright, so let me show my phone real quick. So as you can see from the box, it's a global version. This is a free aerodynamic cooler since this is an ROG 5 Pro, which means that we have 16 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of internal storage. But for now, we're just gonna test if this phone can handle the maximum settings of this game with the maximum number of players in one frame. Okay, so without further ado, let's start with the video. Okay, let me show you one of the guild events that we have. This is the resource battle. So usually there are around 100 to 120 players participating in this event. And as you can see, even though I'm using the maximum settings, there are no noticeable drops from my frames per second, and these settings are what I normally use when I play those other guild events as well. But let me take you on a more in-depth analysis and a more specific testing when it comes to players being showed on the same frame in this game. So I'm gonna show you an event where we normally kill the boss daily, and there are usually 40 to 50 players being showed on your frame. Alright, here we go. So let me show you the settings first. So this is the highest that we can go right now. Unfortunately, ROG 5 still doesn't support the other options that we have here, but this is the highest that we can get as far as the graphics and settings are concerned. Now this one is very important. It says here players displayed on screen. Let me first check your eyes only, meaning that I won't be seeing any players on screen. I also won't be seeing the skills that they're casting right now, meaning all I can see are their names and the skills that I'm casting. So as you can see, the game is really smooth. There are no lags. There are no FPS drops whatsoever. So let me show you the average frames per second from the game genie. You see it's 57, 58, 53, 59. Right, sometimes it goes down, but for the split second. So it averages around 50 plus, 57. Now let's see if we can try 10 players added on the screen. We're also going to be showing their skill effects, and let's see if our frames per second will still stay the same. Okay, so let's try to add 10 players right now. Let's see what we get. Alright, so it's still fairly smooth. Let's try to check the frames per second. So right now it's down from 57 to around 44, I believe. So let's try to zoom the game. There's a bit of a lag, but it's hardly noticeable, so it's still very playable right now. So again, remember that I just added 10 players to be shown on the screen. So if you can see one of the players there, Horny, Zephyrus, their characters are being showed right now with their skills as well. And we're averaging around 40 frames per second. Now let's try to add 10 more players on the screen. Let's see what we get. Okay, there's not much of a difference. Still fairly smooth and still playable. but the frames per second is now down to an average of around 30 compared to the previous 40 that we have. It's 34, 33, 35, sometimes it jumps to 40. So it's averaging around 30, and you'll see a bit of a lag on the game, but it's still manageable and it's still very playable right now. So let's try to add 10 more players on our frame. Let's see what we get. Well, right now you can actually feel a big difference in the game. It is very noticeable and the lag is quite hard to manage right now. Again, I'm only showing 30 players on my screen. Right now there are 45 players participating in this event. So I'm not even showing the maximum number of players on my screen right now. And frames per second is down to 20s. 15, 24, 30, 35, 27. So it's averaging around 27, give or take. But let's push it much further. Let's try to maximize the number of players shown on the screen. So in this particular moment we have 45 players. Let's see what we get. Alright, so it's a bit similar to previous one, but then again there are only 45 players on the screen, so I'm showing every single one of them. I'm showing every single one of their skill effects, and the lag is very noticeable. It's getting really hard to control the characters right now. And again, remember guys that in this game you would have times where there would be 100 to 400 players on your screen, so you could imagine if you're showing all of those players and their effects, what kind of frames per second you'd be getting. But right now with this 45 players on screen, it's really hard to control right now. As you can see, the frames per second goes down now to 17, 23, again 17, 19. So it's averaging around 19, 18 or 20. Sometimes it goes up, but again the lag is very much noticeable, so I don't actually suggest to use the max number of players shown. I usually end up using 20 players shown on screen. That way I can see if my enemies are casting their skills, so I can plan my gameplay much better compared to not showing their characters. Okay, let me provide you a quick comparison if you're not showing any of the other characters but yourself alone. You can see how smooth the game is. You can see that there are no lags even though you're using the maximum settings for the graphics. Again, it's back to 57, 59 frames per second. Alright, so now let me show you one of the guild events that we have here where there are more than 400 players participating. So you can only imagine if you maximize all the number of players being shown on your screen, what kind of FPS you'll be getting. As you can see, there are a total of 437 players participating in this event. So I don't usually place it on the maximum numbers of players to be shown, so I just put 10 or 20. That way I can see those players nearest to me, especially if they're my enemies, if they're casting skills, or if they're trying to evade my skills. Alright, so that's about it. So let me just provide you my final verdict and what I think about the ROG 5 phone. Still, for me, this is the fastest and most game-friendly phone that I've ever used. I was able to use an iPhone, a Samsung, and OnePlus. But for me, This phone doesn't compare to those other phones when it comes to gaming. Alright, that's about it guys. If you learned something in this video, please make sure to leave a like. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to comment down below. And please make sure to subscribe for more videos in the future about E3 Still Alive. Thank you guys.